Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. It's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and in today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, current professional hockey goaltender, Chris Paulin. Chris is currently playing in the Federal Prospects Hockey League for the Carolina Thunderbirds. This is Chris's fifth official pro season, as he has also gotten the call-ups to the SPHL's Fayetteville Marksmen this year. So Chris plays junior hockey days in the EMJHL, OJHL, ATJHL, EJHL before playing 3 years of NCAA Division I hockey with Niagara University and 1 season with SUNY Fredonia, NCAA Division III before turning pro. So this can be a really fun episode, Chris. So welcome to the show, Chris Paulin.
How you doing, man? Glad to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm doing good. Can't complain here. Just living life. Got that off day today from running and hockey, so I can't complain about that. How about you?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, pretty good, man. Just we practiced this morning and yeah, just trying to get ready for the weekend here.
Yeah, absolutely. How's practice this morning?
Pretty good. Pretty good. We're trying to ramp up a little bit. So a little competition day. So they got a little heated. So it's good. Boys are fired up today.
I'll always love that because then it's the competitiveness is through the roof. So it brings everyone's level of play that much higher and that much quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but to start things off here, can you give our viewers a little background information on yourself, like when you started playing hockey, why you started, like what youth hockey was like for you growing up in New York?
Yeah. So I grew up in Lockport, New York, which is pretty close to Buffalo. And my dad, he would play men's league. So he'd take me to watch him play. And that kind of got me interested in the game. He really wanted me to be a forward. And so like when I was 5, 6, 7, that's when I was a skater and wasn't the greatest. But he would also take me to the Sabres games. And my favorite player is Dominic Hasek. So watching Hasek do his thing there in Buffalo was pretty cool for me. So that's kind of what led me to become a goalie. And I think it was my 7, 8-year-old year I became full-time goalie for the local travel team there. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you take obviously we're in different times now with how the Dominator performed in back in the days, but do you take a little bit of him and just like try to modernize it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I really did when I was younger. Like I resisted the goalie mask. So I wore like a player's helmet until I was like 13. And then I went to a goalie camp. One of my goalie coaches in Buffalo, Bob Janos, he he ran a goalie school and he had a real nice mask for the goalie of the week. And he got it my colors, like my team colors. So he planned it the whole week that he was going to give it to me so that I would have to switch into the goalie mask. So that's kind of how I got out of the player helmet. My dad, I mean, he hated it. So he was pretty pumped about it. So
It breaks the bank a little bit when you go from playing forward to being a goalie with all
Yeah,
the equipment you got to get.
yeah, it was tough on my dad for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, what were some of like your fondest memories growing up in youth hockey?
Oh yeah, well we had so I played for the Wheatfield Blades organization when I was little until minor midget, and it was pretty cool. We got to go to Lake Placid. We did a tournament there. So for me as a little kid skating on be sharing the same crease as Jimmy Craig, that was
Yeah.
pretty cool for me. So that was a special trip for sure. When I was in middle school, we my summer team we took a trip to Slovakia for an international tournament. So that was an awesome experience. Got to see the Czech Republic and Slovakia. So that was really cool too. So, and I made some pretty good friends along the way too. So it was really cool. We filled and then finished my youth hockey in Rochester, New York, about a hour and a half from Buffalo, and that's where I played my minor midget. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Lake Placid probably was sick with like all the views and everything, like all the history behind it with Jimmy Craig, USA hockey, and like all that. And then you go to Slovakia as a middle schooler, like that must have been pretty cool. And just like experiencing everything you do that a lot of people don't at that young of an age.
Yeah, I know it was really cool. Something I didn't probably appreciate enough at the time, but yeah, like we saw Prague, which if anyone's ever been to that city, is one of the coolest cities I've ever seen for sure. So it was like something I'm very grateful for sure. I'd love to go back there someday. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go into midget major, like you said, in Rochester with the Alliance organization. So like, what was it like growing or going into that organization for your midget major year and just having a chance to eventually find your path leading up to juniors?
Yeah, so it was actually my minor midget. So I played my 15-year-old and my 16-year-old year in Rochester, and it was pretty cool. So we had a pretty strong team. A lot of guys that played Division One from those teams, and a few NHL draft picks as well. So it was kind of a transition because the youth team I had played for up until then, we were a weaker team, so didn't win much, got a million shots, and then I went to a different team that we won all the time and didn't get a lot of shots, but a completely different experience because you get 50 shots and you lose 3-0. It's like you had a great game, and then you get
Yeah.
20 and you lose 2-1. It's like it sucked. So it was definitely a different experience. It was awesome. We got to play in some pretty cool tournaments with some great players. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking back, do you prefer to get peppered with shots or do you like to get the easy 20, 25 shots?
Uh, you know, it, it's always nice to not get a lot of shots because most likely your team's probably doing pretty well if that's the case. But once in a while, it's nice to get 40 or 50 and have to kind of steal a game and kind of have that because it fires the boys up too if you get peppered and still find a way to win. So that's cool part about the position for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like you develop a lot more too when you do get like 40, 50 shots a game, like because you're facing so much rubber that like it's just reps after reps and you just
Yeah.
gotta do whatever you can to stop the puck. And it just comes down to finding a way to get that win.
Yeah, and I have to give it to my dad. That's part of the reason he kind of kept me on a weaker team that struggled, when I was little, because he wanted me to get a million shots and uh, you know, face all kinds of different situations and develop. So I think he kind of knew what he was doing there. It was a pretty smart move, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And because that's all you do when you get peppered with shots. You just gotta sit there, just take the beating and just stop anything you can, honestly.
Yeah, well, it puts a lot of pressure on you too, because when you're competitive and you want to learn how to win, if you get outshot 50-20 and you got to find a way to win, it's not a lot of room for error. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in my men's league game the other day, we got outshot 49-15, came out with a 5-3 win. So
Yeah, so that's a good
find a
feeling.
find a way to win, even though you're getting peppered with 50 shots.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always a good feeling when that happens too. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. So then after your AAA year, you then go on to junior hockey with the Buffalo Stars and the EMJHL in 2019, 2010. So like what was the process like to sign to play in juniors and play with the Stars? Like what do you have to do to get yourself on that team?
yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I was kind of trying to figure out what to do after my minor midget was done, and I thought about playing U18. I thought about going to prep school, and then I had a pretty good coach in Buffalo who was really pushing me and my dad to play this, stay home in Buffalo for another year and play junior B. So we played on a pretty decent junior B team there. And a couple, actually, another guy I went to Niagara with, Larry Smith, he played there too. So I think it was good for both of our development. And yeah, I think it was probably a good idea for me to stay home as a junior, for me personally, just to kind of develop as a person and get a little bit more mature. I think that was probably good. So yeah.
Yeah. So like, what was that transition going from the Rochester organization to juniors in the EMJHL, and then adjusting to a junior hockey lifestyle, like you said, because it's quite different than what you did before?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, so again, I played I was very fortunate to play for a good midget team. So we had a lot of good players. The games, like especially when we played other heavy teams, we were, the games were like high skilled, very fast. Whereas when I went to junior B, it was slower pace, but guys were stronger, older, obviously more physicality. So that was a little bit of adjustment too. But no, I like both of them for sure. And I think I found the biggest adjustment when I went to junior A the following year. I think that's when I started to notice like it was, kind of a combination between a lot of physicality, and there was some really good players. I played in the OJ for the Junior Sabres the following year. So that was kind of, a lot of good players. And, I think I learned a lot, especially as a person that year, kind of identified some flaws within myself and my personality that I think helped along the way. So that was good.
Yeah. So you go up to the OJHL and you like have to face all these like adjustments and these obstacles, like the physicality, the speed, the way the game's played. Like what do you do like in the off season to like prepare for this? And then when you get into the season, like what do you do to help maintain everything you learned from the off season to help transition into the OJ?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I was answering that question now, it'd be a lot different than how I answered it then, because I, just being honest, I thought I was someone that I was very dedicated. Like I did spend a lot of time, but I think I spent a lot of time on things that maybe weren't as productive. I think I wasn't working as hard as I thought I was working. That makes sense. And when we touch on it later, when I get to NCAA, I'll kind of talk about how I learned some of the things I know now and kind of who taught me that. But yeah, going back, I would have liked to have been definitely more accountable. I think as a goalie, and for people listening, I'm sure the people listening would realize how important accountability is, especially as a goaltender. And I learned that year that when you're pointing the finger at other players or your defensemen, guys don't really like that. They don't like you so much. So I really had to kind of look in the mirror and kind of identify the person I was and who do I want to be moving forward. So I think that was the biggest learning experience for me. And I think had I known that then, I think I would have had a more successful season, but definitely a part of my growth for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good realization, because as you grow up, like you always, especially goalies, like you always want to tend to say like I was perfect. The D may have been like a little off, like just stuff like that, and then like they're the reason that you got scored on. But isn't it your job to stop the puck?
Exactly. And that's kind of what I learned that year, is that if there was never any mistakes made, we wouldn't have any shots. So our job is to make up for the mistakes. So bitching about mistakes isn't going to help anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, do you think that's when you realized like the start of that growth is from year one in junior B in the EMJHL to going up to junior A in the OJ? Is just that like you can't blame everyone. Like you just got to keep going and just keep doing whatever you can to stop the puck.
Yeah, I think that year in the OJ, I think it was a good year for humility too, because I think I was someone growing up that, a lot of people, were talking very highly of. And I think probably that got in my head a little bit. So I think that was a little bit of a humbling year, and everyone's not, kissing my rear end the whole season. And, I got to kind of fight for my spot and fight for the net. So I think that was good. And then obviously learning and finally taking a step back and saying, okay, maybe I'm not the most liked guy in the room. Why is that? Maybe it's because of how I'm treating some of my teammates. Maybe I need to adjust that. So I think that was really good, for a 17, 18-year-old to kind of learn that lesson.
Yeah, and like I'm sure that was hard because because like it's a lot to think about like when you do that, and then like you got to be a good teammate as well, and once you're a good teammate, like everyone's gonna find ways to like you.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's tough. It's tough for anyone to look in the mirror and identify character flaws, but because it's obviously a painful experience, you never want to see anything bad about yourself, but it is very helpful. So if you can do that, I think it provides the path for a lot of growth. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the following 2 years, you played in the ATJHL and the EJHL again for the Boston Bulldogs, Boston Junior Rangers, and the Portland Junior Pirates. Like, what were those last 2 years like for you, and being able to catch the eyes of some college teams?
Yeah, so I definitely I was so through minor midget I was talking to a ton of schools, and then kind of as I had a down year with the Junior Sabres and the OJ, so that kind of fell off a little bit of radar as far as some schools go. So I went out east, and I think that was a really good experience. It wasn't maybe the most competitive league I've ever played in. It's called at the time the Atlantic Junior Hockey League. I think it's the EHL now, but I played for a phenomenal coach. His name was Mike Adessa. And he actually coached for RPI and won a national championship with them. So he was not your traditional type of coach. He's very, very hard on me. And after the season ended, I learned, I kind of saw why he was so hard on me and what he was trying to grow me into a man. And that's what he always said. So I think that year really helped me mature and develop. And I was fortunate to have a pretty good season there. And then the following year, I started with the same organization. There was a team was sold, so I went from the Boston Bulldogs to the Boston Rangers, played a few games there, and then I wanted to go to the EJ. So I asked for a trade, went to a little bit of a better league, and I did okay there. And that's actually where where I ended up committing out of. So yeah, so I was pretty fortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, what's it like playing or like being like with that coach and just having him like be that tough guy and like change you into like a man and just be like, obviously it's tough to hear about like the things you're doing wrong and like just that you have to change, but like what's the importance of just having a coach like that to just teach you the ways and teach you how to better yourself?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, this guy was he had a football background actually. So we'd have very long meetings, and everything was calculated. So, and sometimes in meetings, he would even ask, like, for me, the goalie, like, what does the board side winger do on an offensive zone draw if we lose it to this corner? And if I didn't know it immediately, he'd tell me, like, that's why you don't play, because you don't know hockey. So he was very good for that. So you had to be locked in, you had to study. It's tough on me. I remember one game, it's kind of a quick story, it's kind of funny. We're playing the New Jersey Rockets, and we're tied 0-0 after two. And his intermission speech was that I was very lucky. I was the luckiest guy alive that they can't hit open nets, and that I'm trying as hard as I can to lose this game. And he would just play mind games like that with you and try to get you to the point where you didn't listen to it. And that's where he admitted later, after I was done playing, that's what his goal was. And once I kind of figured that out, that he's trying to get me mentally tough, so I don't listen to the noise, I don't listen to distractions, I go out there and compete as hard as I can. That's when I really started to do well that year. I'd say like the last third of the season, I kind of figured it out and started to play pretty well. So yeah, it was awesome. I was very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you can like as a goalie, like you hear all that, like there's all that outside stuff going on. Like even as a player, like any sport, like you have all those stuff going around, like, oh, you can't do that, you suck, you're not making this next level or like whatever. But you just gotta block that out. Like you're gonna give up 6 goals. Like you just gotta block that out and just go play your game, because at the end of the day, that's all you have is just one job. And everyone complicates it a lot more than it should be, because it's quite simple. Not, or I shouldn't say quite simple. It's simple when you just do the right things and make sure that you're not doing anything like over committing or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, the concept's quite simple. Just keep it out of the net. Simple, but just not
Yeah.
easy. There's a
Yeah.
distinction there.
Yeah, exactly. So then once your junior career concluded, after that year, you committed to play Division I hockey for Niagara University. So what was the process like to commit to Niagara?
Yeah, that was actually really cool. So I was talking to a few divisions. So I had some offers from Division III schools, but I really wanted to play Division I. The school that I was actually most interested, or had most interest in me, was probably Sacred Heart, and they had recently told me that they're going in a different direction. So I went home for Christmas break. This was my age out year in junior. I was pretty discouraged, like pretty disappointed. And then I kind of got good news. I got a call that we were a weaker team in the EJ, and we weren't going to make the playoffs, and they traded me to the New Hampshire Monarchs, which was a good team who was trying to make a run. So I was pretty excited about that. And then 2 days later, I get a call from Niagara's assistant coach, and hadn't taught to Niagara all year. And they said they just had a goalie leave the school Christmas time. and they asked me if I'd be interested in coming in for an interview. And I mean, so when I was little, so Niagara's like 30 minutes from where I grew up. So when I was little, my dad would take me to those games, and I knew all the players, the coach, like these were all idols for me. So when they called me, I was beyond excited. And then they eventually offered me, the vacant spot there. So, and yeah, it was the best 4 years of my life for sure. It was the best place I've ever been.
Yeah, absolutely. So you usually grow up 30 minutes away from there. So like, what's it like to put on that jersey, like during your first game, like first practice, get the practice jersey and just put that on, since you've grown up watching that team for a while now?
Yeah. I remember the feeling the first game I dressed was pretty wild. Like I might've been more nervous for that. I was backing up. I might've been more nervous for that game than any game I've ever started. So, yeah, it was amazing experience. My whole family was there. And yeah, it was great. It was definitely earlier in the show, you talked about adjustment from one level to the next. That was the biggest adjustment I've ever seen, because that's a pretty good level of hockey. And yeah, it was the pace was a lot quicker. Just going straight from junior to there, it was quite difficult at first.
Yeah. So like, when you do get there and like you go into freshman year, like, did you have any expectations or anything, or were you just like, I'm gonna go with the flow, and like if something happens, like, and I get put in, like, I'm gonna just go out there and like do my best, obviously?
Yeah, that was kind of my expectation. So the coach was, pretty forthcoming when I interviewed. He said, "Listen, we have our starter at the time who I became best friends with. His name was Carson Truback. He was actually a top 10 Hobie Baker finalist that year, which is not easy to do out of Atlantic hockey as a goalie. But he was unbelievable. So he said, "Listen, I have a starter. We're making a run this year. I need a guy who can, just battle, compete, be a good guy in practice, and then, one day we'll see, maybe earn playing time." So that's kind of the expectation I went in there as, and I think it was great. I would have liked to have played more. So I played 4 years there and barely played, but the cool thing about that was we practiced in the afternoon. So I was able, since I wasn't playing, I was able to skate by myself every morning. So I, skating 10 times a week, and working out quite a bit too, usually twice a day. So I think that's where I started to transform as a person and, as an athlete, and, got myself more fit and mentally and physically. So I think that was really helped me in my development. And yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah. So like, what do you do like when you do get on the ice first thing in the morning, like before practice even starts? Like, do you just do like skating drills? Because like how do you keep your motivation because like it's hard when you're skating by yourself for that long?
Yeah. So it was a humbling experience going there, because, the whole time through juniors, I'm like, I'm a D1 goalie. I got to commit D1,
Yeah.
And then I get there and I'm like, holy smokes, the other goalies are quite a bit better than I am. So our starter, Carson, he kind of took me under his wing. So I tried to hang around him a lot, because figured I was kind of lost, but he seemed like he knew what he was doing. So maybe I could learn something. And he actually asked me if I wanted to come out and skate with him in the morning. That's how I got the idea. And he told me, he said, honestly, he was pretty honest with me, blunt. He's like, I don't think you're good, but I think I can show you things and transform your game and help you become good. So he actually took me under his wing. He basically taught me how to play goalie from scratch. I had a lot of flaws in my game that I didn't realize. So he taught me basically a new way to play goalie. And then he came back and lived with me in the summers, and he taught me how to train, taught me how to eat. He basically taught me how to live. So that's what kind of transformed. And unfortunately, I didn't really play, but I would say my freshman, sophomore year, if you ask me honestly, I don't think I was anywhere near good enough to play. And then by junior, senior year, I think I did. I didn't get the opportunity, but in my mind, at least, I think I developed enough to be ready to play. And I obviously did a lot better in practice those years too. So, and I owe a lot to Carson. He really showed me how to do things.
Yeah, it's all about going back to the basics. And even when you think you know everything, and then you get told that he doesn't think you're good, and then he takes you under his wing. So like that must have been a humbling experience to have someone take you under their wing and just work with you, even though like you weren't getting like the games, and you're competing for time with him, since like you're his backup or his partner. So like you are battling for competition for time. So like it's good to see that he helped you in that aspect.
Yeah, he was an amazing guy, amazing teammate. So, and we're still best friends to this day. He still watches all my games, this many years later. But yeah, Yeah, that was if I gave anyone advice in that situation, because obviously it sucks. You're there for 4 years and you play. I played one game, so the advice I give to people is focus on the things in which you have control over. So I talked to a lot of guys that put up 100 points in my university, played whenever they wanted. They hated it, So in my reality and my relativity, I thought it was the best place on earth. I still go back there and train, but I was focused on the things I wasn't so focused on the coach, his decisions, especially when I thought I was good enough to play. When he wasn't starting me and we were losing games, I didn't think about that at all because I was busy with skating in the mornings, working out, school, hanging out with the funny guys, the more upbeat guys on the team that weren't negative. And I didn't have any time to really dwell on things I couldn't control. So just focusing on the things that I had my hands on, I think that allowed me to not only develop, but have a great experience and really just have the best friends in my life too. So.
Yeah, that's a great tip for everyone to get out, especially like when you're in a shitty situation like that and you're not playing. Like you have those experiences to learn from. Like you have those resources. You could get on the ice early, like anything to just help yourself get better one day at a time.
Yeah, and everyone's experience is different. Like a lot of guys do
Yeah.
transfer from D1 to D3, and it works out great for them. For me, I wanted to finish my 4 years because every year I got offers because everyone knew I wasn't playing, obviously. So
Yeah.
I got asked to transfer, and but I really gelled with my teammates, and I think there's a lot of mutual respect there. So I wanted to see it through and do my absolute best for them. And my whole goal the whole time there was to be their starter one day. So not accomplishing that in one aspect sucked. In another aspect, I can honestly say probably the first time in my life I could say I did something as hard as I could and had no regrets. So that's also a good feeling too. So, grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you did get into that one game with Niagara, how'd that game go?
Not good at all. So it was actually funny. So we were playing St. Lawrence right at the beginning of my junior year, and we were getting shelled. I think we were down. I want to say it was 6-1 or 6-2 after 2 periods, and they just put a 5 in the second, so they were rolling. And my coach came in. A couple of guys were, think you're going to go in. Well, coach comes in the intermission, does a speech, leaves, doesn't say a word to me. And then about a minute before the third period, he just sticks his head in the door and says, "I'm going in." So, and the adrenaline I experienced was like nothing. Like I mean, there's one point we were shorthanded. I had no idea. Like we iced the puck. I went to skate to the corner. Like I was so out of it. Like the most adrenaline. I was zipping around, sliding everywhere. It was awful. But yeah, in hindsight, I would have liked to have keep my emotions in control. I think I would have done a lot better. But yeah, I was way too emotional for the crease that night. But another good learning experience, just the tough way.
Yeah, exactly. And you learn all this. So like what did you have to learn throughout like your college years to help you like develop like that tough mindset like you were talking about earlier and just have like that positive mindset instead of just letting your emotions take over?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, my freshman year, we were really good. We made the NCAA tournament as that large team, which is real tough. It's never been done actually out of Atlantic hockey until then. But by the end of my career, we were terrible. So I think my junior senior year, I think we were right near the bottom of the rankings in NCAA D1. So to lose all those games and still not the same goalie keeps rolling out there every night.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. It's different when you're winning every game, but when you're losing every game, that's tough. So, but again, I was very focused on, I knew I couldn't make the lineup card. So just not focusing on that and just trying to win every game in practice because we did a lot of competition drills with our coach. So trying to win every game. And it was kind of cool because I got to practice like it was a game. So you can get fired up, have a little pre-workout, and just go as hard as you can. And so that was fun. So every day in practice was pretty fun. So, yeah, so that just focusing on what you can control, it's very difficult, but it's very simple. So
Yeah,
I got better at that as I went through my career.
yeah. Every day at prac was a game to you. Like gotta have fun with it and just learn from those experiences. But overall, just have fun because practice is fun when you make it fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Yeah. So then you go on to Fredonia after your fourth year at Niagara. So like, what was that transfer like to a Division III school in Fredonia?
Yeah, so I did my 4 years at NU, but then I had a redshirt year because I didn't play, and about maybe halfway through the summer, I still had a couple of classes to finish. So my dad actually gave me the idea. He said, "Why don't you go play a year Division III?" So I started contacting some teams, and then of the offers I got, the Fredonia was one I chose, and it was definitely an adjustment because it was good school. Really grateful for that opportunity. It's run a little bit different than where I came from. Um, how else to say that? But yeah, it was really cool. Unfortunately, I got hurt at the beginning of the season, so I missed a ton of time that year. But yeah, I broke my collarbone right before the beginning of the season, and then tried to when I was lifting, I was trying to play through it and lift through it, and then I really damaged it pretty good. So yeah, I missed quite a bit of time, and it's a short Division III season. Don't play as many games. So yeah, I didn't play that much that year either, unfortunately. But yeah, that was I got to meet some new people, and that was a really good learning experience in its own way because I had so many great friends at Niagara. My girlfriend was at Niagara. So, and that's where my heart was like at the time I bled purple, like I
Yeah.
still proud alumni, so to want to be there still, but being somewhere else, it's actually a really good mental exercise to be present because I think maybe I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be there. And I think I was having trouble being present and being just really embracing my new situation. So if I had to go back and give myself advice, that would be what it would be. Just be very present, be very grateful for where you are, and do as best you can with your teammates, the situation. And yeah, I think I kind of learned that after the fact. So
For sure. And you faced more adversity throughout your time at Fredonia, but you did get in 3 games that year you were. So like how'd those 3 games go and like adjusting from Division I to Division III?
yeah, so my first game was the most memorable because it had been I at one point I knew the answer, but it had been over 4 years since my last start when I played my first game. So because it was, I was healthy now and it was right after Christmas. So, some of my NU teammates I told they were joking like, me starting the games like the Olympics happens once every 4 years. So, so yeah, I mean that wasn't as bad as the game at Niagara as far as adrenaline, but it was pretty intense. Like trying to control my emotions for my first start in 4 years was pretty tough. So, and I think that one I got better as the game went on. It was a rocky start, but kind of settled in eventually. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you learn everything you learn from Niagara to keep your emotions in check and just be able to just, even though they may have been a little frisky, but like at least you kept them away for the most part.
Yeah, it wasn't good, but it was better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. But then after that year in Fredonia, you signed a pro deal with the Watertown Wolves in the Federal Hockey League. So like what was it like or what was the process like to sign in Watertown?
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know anything about the league, to be honest with you. And my goalie coach in Fredonia actually was the one who told me, like, hey, you should, reach out to a couple teams. And Watertown, like pretty much right away, it was like 3 days after my Fredonia season ended, he brought me in. And we had a phenomenal starter, one of the best goalies I've ever played with, if not the best. His name was Danila Alistradov. He played like 4 years in the KHL, and through crazy circumstances, long story, was in Watertown. So I got to play behind him, and that was another great guy to learn from. He was a shorter goalie, even shorter than me actually, and he taught me quite a bit as well. So really cool playing behind him, and the adjustment into the pro game. Had a lot of older guys, like I guess older is in my age now, which is crazy to say, but they kind of helped show me what it's like to be a pro and how to handle your business, how to treat fans. And yeah, that was a really cool year.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, what was it like getting into those 3 games? Because you did play 3 games. Were they as nerve wracking as your other college games that you got into?
Yeah, you know what? I actually did better. My first game was another unexpected one because so I signed a PTO. So at the time, it's different now. At the time, it was 3 games. So it's up to 3 games. So my second game dressing, we were up 4-1 on a team after 2. And my coach put me in for the third. He wanted to see to make a decision on me. And I was not expecting to go in at all. And I was quite nervous, but I did quite a bit better. handling my emotions, had a scoreless third. So so that was pretty good. My coach, he liked me quite a bit at the time, Esposito, Coach Espo. Yeah. So in my second game, came in off the bench as well, and I fought like, I don't know, 3 minutes into coming in. So that was intense in its own right. Their goalie was he got ran and he was chasing their guy out to center ice. So I stepped in and excuse me, that was a pretty wild night. So
Yeah, and you've gotten 2 fights in your pro career so far.
yeah, I got in one this year. Yeah, which was
What were the events leading up to that one?
yeah, that was cool. So we were up on Watertown's having a good season this year. They're topping our league, and we're up 4-0 on them. I think it was around middle of the game, and I skated the bench for a TV timeout, and there was an altercation after the whistle. Then a fight broke out. Then another fight broke out, and then their coach actually was telling their goalie, who was their backup, he came in off the bench to fight me. So my coach was saying, absolutely not. Like, you're not coming out of the game. You're not fighting. So I told him no. So I was grabbing water and he grabbed me from behind. So once he did that, then we were going.
And then you guys were both chucking ducks.
Yeah, it was fun. It was I was telling the guy, I was joking with the guys. I'm like, that's way more fun than playing goalie, So
getting in a goalie fight, does it get tiring, or is it just the adrenaline is just there still?
Both. Like, afterwards I was kind of gassed. Like, I was more tired than I expected to be, and the refs were trying to break us up, the linesmen. So I was trying to like grapple with the linesman for a while too to get free. And so yeah, I was pretty tired, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I remember my first fight, I was kind of like unsure and was a little bit afraid to get hit. And this one, I was just like, all I was thinking about was trying to hit him. So like you could see on the tape, I was like eating punches too, but you don't feel, it was so much adrenaline, but yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, because I remember watching that video and you guys were both even, and then like the refs tried to get in the way, and then they just decided to just get out of the way and have you two go at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I saw, so when they let us go, he got a free one in. And then he was a bigger guy than me, so I was having trouble reaching him. So I was grabbing his right arm, but I couldn't reach him. So then I just said, screw it. I like grabbed his left arm and like let him swing a couple times. And then I went for a couple, and I got a couple good ones. And then I went for like the big one and I fell back, but yeah, it was good.
The classic, you want to go for a big one and then you just lose your balance and fight's over after that.
Yeah, it's tough to hold your balance. I give the guys who fight all the time credit, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But going back to your first year, like you played 3 games, you got like that pro experience. Like, what was like your first pro moment where you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. You know what? Actually, it was before I even got in the net. So I got a call when I went there. It was on a Saturday night at like midnight. I was about to go to bed. I get a call from Watertown's coach. He says, we got a game at 5:00 in Port Huron, and I need you there. So I actually had to drive through the night, met the boys, and I backed up that night. And like 5 minutes into the game, the coaches were going at it. Our coach was getting into it with the Port Huron fans. And I remember thinking, like, what is going on? Like, this is not college, like it was, it's pretty wild. So that was my introduction into the Fed.
Welcome to the Fed. Welcome to the pros.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what was like the most important thing you learned right away from the start of pro hockey, like throughout those 3 games, like your year or your time in with Watertown? Like, what were some of the things you learned throughout that time?
Yeah, there's a few things. I don't know if I could just pinpoint one. Like, being adaptable is one, especially in these lower level leagues. Yeah, buses break down. You get to rinks late, so you have to be very adaptable. Another thing was kind of like, which I think I learned in school, but really honing in how to take care of my body and, always be able to recover from practices, games, whatever. And then actually we had our captain, Brett Liscombe. He had a good pro career, and I think he was 31 or so when he retired. And I remember after our last game, I asked him, I said, like, I'm just starting my pro career. What would your advice be to me? And he said, be likable. He said, like, there'll always be a place for you in pro hockey if you're likable. So, I try my best. I don't know if everyone likes me, but I try my best, so.
Hey, at least you're trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but going off of the recovery thing, like what do you do to help yourself recover? Because like when you do, like especially now when you're playing like every game, like what do you do to help yourself recover?
Yeah, this year I've been playing quite a bit. So I have a pretty good routine. I roll out a lot, I stretch a lot. I go for massages, which is pretty big. And then I probably 5 times a week do ice baths. So that's a big one for me. So after every game, I hop in an ice bath, after most practices as well. So that just trying to get recover as best I can. So I spend a lot of time at the rink. Usually I'm usually here pretty late. So
Big ice bath guy. How's it like when you first get in? Freezing?
yeah, it's cold. So I did them like once every while in college, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, but now I do them all the time, and it never really gets easier. Actually, our media guy here, he did an interview with me in the ice tub. Thought it'd be funny. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, just and I do a thing where I hop from ice tub to hot shower back and forth. So it's good from the hot to cold.
Yeah.
Ideally, if you have two tubs, it's great to do like a cold bath, hot bath. But yeah, I just use the hot shower. We only have one tub here, but yeah, I think that's big in recovery. And sometimes ice and stem if something's sore, just trying to stay out ahead of problems and not get to the point where you're too hurt to play. Because everyone, especially now, is battling through something.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to keep it good enough to be able to play as best you can. So
Yeah, that's unreal. So then the following year, after you spent your time in Watertown, you spent time with Carolina Thunderbirds. So like, what was your time in Carolina like your first year, and just being able to learn from the guys that are playing and the guys that you're around to learn from?
yeah, it was awesome. My girlfriend actually, so we were still together. We were together at Niagara, and then she got into the master's program at High Point University, which is 20 minutes from the rink
Yeah,
here.
that's
So
nice.
so I actually I called a buddy of mine and I said, would you think Coach Andre Nietzsche at the time, you think he'd be interested in training for me? He said, absolutely. So I ended up getting traded here. And yeah, it was a great experience. The only tough thing, I was injured a lot. So my first couple of years that year, and then my following year with Port Huron, I was out most of the season. So I didn't get to play many games, but I think that was a good experience too. And being able to start some games and, kind of learning through the injuries and maybe how to prevent them in the future. I think that was good too. So.
Yeah. So like, what do you learn like when you do go through those injuries, and like just like the importance of like rehab, and then just like having like a mindset to just do one thing to get better the next day, and just like don't overdo anything to so you injure yourself again before coming
Yeah.
back way too early.
Yeah. And that was, if you fast forward to my next year in Port Huron, I kind of had one injury after the next. And um, I definitely pushed it to come back maybe sooner than I should have with some of the injuries. But I also think it's very important to do as much as you can rehab wise to get back as quickly as you can. Because the longer you're out, especially when you're just starting your career, like the easier it is to get forgotten about. So you want to get back as soon as possible. And then, yeah, try to stay out ahead of injury. So when you do feel something kind of tweak, that's when you really address it with the, massages, icing, stim, rehab. You don't want to wait to the point where you can't play or you need surgery. I had a couple surgeries. So that was a good learning experience those years too.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you have some of those injuries in Port Huron, but like when you do get into the games that you did in Port Huron, like what were those games like, especially like your second year when you played a lot more games than your first year in Port Huron?
Yeah. Well, when I first got to Port, it was a little bit of adjustment because we were a more offensive team. So we played a little bit more open style. So definitely we scored a fair amount. We also gave up a fair amount of chances. So,
Yeah.
So that was good too. And being able to kind of, make some, big saves here and there was nice. Um, yeah, my second year, I got to play quite a bit before they shut us down for the COVID, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was great being able to play a fair amount. We had another Corey Simons, who's still in the league, good buddy of mine. He still plays for Port. So we kind of went back and forth, and then at times he was injured, or I think he went up to Pensacola for a little bit. So yeah, I got to play quite a few games, and that was nice being able to play back to back. And for a guy that didn't really play all that much, being able to go Friday, Saturday, and you got to recover and try to get the body ready to go again for the next night. It was pretty cool. So yeah, that was a little bit of a learning adjustment, but not too bad. So
Yeah, how tough are those back to back games, especially when you go home and home and you have to travel 8+ hours?
yeah, those can be tricky, mostly because the sleep, right? Like you're sleeping on the
Yeah.
bus, and sometimes you can't really sleep on the bus. So but yeah, so it's not too bad though. A lot of, if you're, you try to, as soon as you're done, if you can get in the tub or a stretch, do something to, kind of get the inflammation down, that's good. And then you're ready to tee it up again the next night. The first time I ever did 3-3s was this year though. Those are a little tougher.
How was that?
Those are definitely a little tougher. So, but yeah, it's the same concept. You just you usually stay up pretty late after the games, trying to get your body feeling good for the next day. And then, but yeah, I try to keep the routine the same. So like the last 3-3 we had Port Huron Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I, still did the morning skate every day. It's still try to keep game day routine the same. So, and then if you're a little bit tired, you just you suck it up and you don't think about it and you try to keep the puck out of the net. It's not too magical of a solution,
Go back to the grind and just keep stopping pucks.
Yeah. Just focus on stopping the puck and not if you're tired or sore. Nobody cares. Doesn't matter. Just try to win. So.
Yeah. Do you have trouble falling asleep like after games, or because you're so amped up and everything, or like what do you do to help yourself actually go to sleep?
Yeah, I definitely take melatonin after games. I have a tough time, and I take a fair amount of pre-workout and caffeine before games. So I try to get I don't like to play real relaxed, or I don't really play that style. So I get pretty fiery out there, or at least try to. So yeah, after games, I'm usually up pretty late. So not a lot of sleep on the weekend. So I definitely try to catch up on Monday,
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then during the 2020-2021 season, you signed back with the Carolina Thunderbirds, where you went 5-1, had the best goals against average in the Federal Prospects Hockey League with a 2.51. So like, what was last season like for you and the team, especially during like an odd season with the pandemic and everything?
Yeah, so last year was really cool. I started the year in Port Huron, so I was coming off a pretty major hip surgery, and I didn't think we were going to play at all. So I thought this would be good when we, be able to like rehab it fully. And usually for my surgery, it's 9 to 12 months. So about 5 months into it, the season started up again. And, I told Joe Pace in Port Huron, I said, I don't think I'll be able to play games right away, but I can continue rehabbing skate. I did that for a couple of weeks, and then I just thought it'd be best for me and my career at the time to come back to North Carolina. And, Joe was a great guy about it. Didn't hold me back. He traded me here. And, it was a little bit scary, honestly, because I really didn't know how the hip was going to feel in a game because, I was only about 6 months out. So very quick from my surgery. So, but yeah, I was kind of kept, I only played one game a week. It's kind of the understanding I had with the coach here. Just kind of the hip really wasn't strong enough to handle, back-to-backs. But yeah, we had a really strong team. The defense were phenomenal. I think they were a big reason of my success last year. I thought we played a great style defensively, and just try to make a couple saves here and there. But they were awesome in front of me. It was a great group of guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So your hips all fixed up and better. Nothing complaining about your hips anymore.
Yeah, it's a lot better now. Like I wouldn't have been able to play 3-3s last season. So very grateful for the surgery, and then just trying to keep the muscles around the joint as loose as possible. And that obviously helps because anytime after surgery you get some tightness. So you just try to keep them as loose as you can, and that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So then this season, you've had a ton of work. You played in like 40 something games already. You're 17-15 so far this season. So like, how has this season been for you personally, especially since like you're playing like every night, like you said?
Yeah. Well, first off, it's been great. I think I've done playing a lot, and I've done not playing a lot, and playing a lot's definitely more fun. So that's been cool. And it's a little bit of a different mindset when you kind of most nights know you're going to be playing. And you just, a lot of emphasis is on the week and how you prepare. So when you're playing one game every week or 2 weeks, it's a little different than, 2, 3, 4 a week, so you try to, your preparation Monday through Thursday is really key, just to have your body feeling the way it needs to for the weekend. But yeah, it's also different too, because it's, if you're playing 10 games a year or less, it's a little bit of a different feeling when you take the ice than when you're playing every single game. And you staying competitive and not letting up during games the key. And that's where you see guys like Marc-Andre Fleury who've been amazing. Like that guy plays a million games and he's locked in every second, so it's those guys make it look really easy at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, would you say like some of the biggest things you learned is just being able to just like help yourself recover during like that Monday through Thursday, and then get into it like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just be able to stay locked in throughout those games?
Yeah, the Monday through Thursday is absolutely key, I found. And then just focusing on one game at a time. Because, like in Port Huron, for example, me and Corey were going back and forth. If he plays Friday or I play Saturday or vice versa, this is my game. So you're focused on that one game. If you're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you really have to focus on that Friday game. Like nothing else matters. Because if you start getting out of yourself, that's when you lose. You'll kind of lose the present. And that's when mistakes can happen. So you really got to try to win one game at a time. And that's been good to focus on that. So,
yeah. So like, what do you focus on during like Monday through Thursday when you are just recovering and getting ready for a game day on the weekends?
trying to get a fair amount of sleep is important. Drinking a ton of water and electrolytes. And then just like I said, the rolling out, the stretching, all the stuff I do after practice. That's key. Coach here has been great. He's given me a couple of days off here and there when I've needed them, just to focus more on, get on the bike or something that's a little less wear and tear on the hips and the knees, stuff like that. But yeah, just being really diligent with my time and trying to recover as quick as possible.
Yeah. So while you spent the entire season with Carolina this season, you did earn an SBHL call up this season to the Fayetteville Marksmen, where you actually got into a game. So like, what was it like getting that first SBHL call up?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. Actually, our GM here, Kelly Curl, he gave me a call and the first time I got called up and said, "Hey, don't get your hopes up, but I think Fayetteville's going to want you for this weekend." And it's too late. My hopes were already pretty up. And then when Corey Melkert, the Fayetteville coach, did bring me in, it was pretty cool because I've been trying for a long time to get called up. That's a league I really wanted to play in.
Yeah.
Well, like 4 years ago, I went to Quad Cities camp and had a pretty good camp and had an exhibition game, had a shutout in that. But they had really good goalies. Actually, Pete DeSalvo, who's with Danbury now, he was one of them at the time. So that, it was just kind of for the training camp. And every time I got called up since then, I was injured. So to be able to take a call up was pretty exciting for me.
And you got into a game. So like, what was it like to play in a game at the SBHL level?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's a little bit of a different game than the Fed for sure. Definitely a little faster, a little cleaner, I'd say. So maybe a little less unexpected chances, I guess you could say. But yeah, it was really good. Once I got in there, it was pretty much just playing hockey and it flowing pretty good. So it was actually funny because John Bertita, a guy I'm playing with down here, our captain, he and I went up together that first weekend and we had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday at home. Cool. So we were thinking we had a really good starter there at the time before he got called up to the coast. And we're when would I play if I did play? And we're like, maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday, definitely not Friday. Well, I went in the Friday game. So it was kind of funny. So I played a bit in the second and then the third. So it was a pretty good experience for sure. I'd love to start a game in the SB before the end of my career. That's something I'd like to do for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, you get that unexpected game like you did in college.
Yeah, and it was funny because they scored, I think, to make it 4-1. I think we were playing Roanoke, and there was like 2 or 3 minutes left in the second. My coach told me to go in, and I said, like, now? Because usually that late in the period, you wait till the third. And he said, no. So I hopped right in there and I actually had a pretty decent chance, like 30 seconds in. So it was kind of that'll get you going. So it was good.
Yeah, that's unreal. But Chris, I have a few more questions for you before we wrap things up here. So do you have any tips for goaltenders looking to get to that next level?
Yeah. Focusing on what you can control is something probably one of, if not the thing I'm most grateful for learning throughout my career, because there's so many variables in hockey. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to think you're good. One guy might think you're great. The next guy thinks you stink. So to not put a lot of stock in that, and just especially for young goalies, kids growing up, you focus a lot. Like, I think if I was telling myself this, I would have said focus a lot less on, which team you play on and what showcase to go to and which scout is watching you, and focus as hard as you can on getting better, working really hard. Everyone practices, everyone goes to the gym. So if you want to separate yourself from the next guy, what are you going to do above that? Because, going to practice every day, that's not working hard. Everyone does that.
Yeah.
So and that's something I didn't realize at that age. So that's what I would tell the younger me for sure.
Yeah, that's a great tip, and you got to have fun, because why are you playing the game if you're not having fun?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't find even the tough things, like I'm not saying running hills and doing sprints is fun, but it should be rewarding. So when you're
Yeah.
done, it should feel rewarding. It should feel like you're getting a step closer to the place you want to go. When it's not rewarding or when it's not fulfilling, that's when you kind of think maybe this isn't for me anymore. I'm 29. I still feel very fulfilled doing that stuff. So hopefully for a little bit longer, I can keep doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then my next question is, like, what's your game day routine like when you're at home, let's say?
When I'm at home, so morning skate, big morning skate guy. I love it. Even if it's a 4 o'clock game, I want to get on the ice. That's pretty big for me. And after I skate, I roll out, I stretch, take a cold shower. I eat Chipotle pretty regularly at home on game days. And then, I try to just wind down for a few minutes, and I did definitely take a nap. Big nap guy too on game days. So, that's kind of what I do for the morning and the afternoon there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Whatever gets you loose for the game, like getting on the ice, wiping the rust off, like that's always the best, because you go to morning skate and just like make sure everything's ready and just get all that rust off, so you're
Yeah.
ready to go from the
Yeah.
get-go of the game.
Get a sweat. I mean, even if we don't have a morning skate, if we're on the road or something, I always try to get sweat in, whether it's running or biking. So it's big to get your body going for sure. And if you can skate, I love just taking a few shots or just doing movement drills. Just feeling comfy out there for sure for like 15, 20, 25 minutes, so.
Yeah, absolutely. But my last question for you is, what's your favorite pump up song? Like, you're listening to this, like it comes on during like pregame warm ups, like you're trying to get a lift in. Like, what are you listening to?
That's a great question. Well, if I'm trying to get pumped up for a game versus a lift, very different. So when I lift, I don't listen to music. I actually listen to just like a lot of different mindset videos, because that's kind of my time to kind of fill my head with the things that I want it to be filled with.
Yeah.
So I think in society you can get brainwashed pretty easily by things you see around and social media. So it's kind of my time to brainwash myself with the things I want to be brainwashed with, if that makes sense. And then before games, it's kind of a mix between like hip hop, like different like techno music and rock. Just to try to get a little blood flow for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Those are all great tunes to get yourself worked up for, and like get yourself ready and get in that mindset to go out there, perform, lift, like whatever you're doing.
Yep, for sure, man.
Yeah, but Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to following your career the rest of the way.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I know you've had some really good players on, so it's an honor to be with you here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
Yeah, thank you.